Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be about Invisible Woman. So first of all, like any new characters, she has like an absolute wall of a text. And yeah, we can toss all of that pretty much out of the window. There are only a couple things really you need to know about Invisible Woman. Number one, typically you'll want to activate your pre-fight ability if you want to do more damage. Number two, you hit harder while you're invisible. You're going to turn invisible once you basically dex an opponent's attack and invisibility has gone off its cooldown. And that's pretty much it. You just want to dex. You do not want opponent to actually miss. So you do not want to parry. You don't want to take a blocked hit. You do not want to kind of phase through their attacks for most part. So here we go. Let's test it out against Winter Soldier and then talk a bit more about how she works and what she does. So we're going to be testing with rank 3, 5-star, unduped Invisible Woman. Dupe ability doesn't really do all that much for her. The best bit is that you start the fight invisible, but it is not paused. So you can only use that invisibility to get like an extra opening in opponent. Anyway, so at this point we have gone invisible because we did trigger our dex. We kind of evaded opponent's attack. And now from here on out, we basically kind of want to dex as much as possible in order to build out our damage. So that is not the easiest thing to do because you can slip up, but then all your vulnerability debuffs are gonna go. Your invisibility is gonna get switched off and your damage is gonna go back to poop. However, so long as you do maintain your invisibility, you do hit harder and harder and harder and exponentially harder to the point where you actually have some insane damage output. And now initially I thought it's kind of like a really annoying thing about Invisible Woman that you pretty much have to play perfect in order to get the great damage output. And for longer fights, fair enough, that is true. You want to keep on top of your game, you want to play like flawless, you want to remain invisible in order to stack up your damage. However, when we're going to go in regular questing, she's going to show some different really redeeming abilities. So first of all, as you can see here, we're up to 26 vulnerable debuffs in 50 hits in, and we have taken quarter of his life away. So but this damage is just going up and up and up, and she's actually going to close out that fight really quickly, especially when she has built up properly. Now, my biggest point of criticism that I think about Invisible Woman is I wish those vulnerabilities wouldn't stack up to 50. I wish they would stack up to like 10, 20 max, and they would be like more effective per debuff. However, you can't get everything you ask for, and we are here working with 50. If it would be up to like 10, I think she would be new god tier champion. Currently, she is great. There are some really cool things about her, but I do not think she's going to be a game changer of a champion for anybody. Now, one absolutely amazing thing that I am probably gonna mention several times throughout the video is the fact that she works extremely well with suicides, because her force field basically reduces suicide damage to 10% of its original value, and she essentially heals whenever she has force field on, and she heals quite strongly. She definitely heals strong enough to kind of cover suicide damage and a bit more. But there we saw some massive level 2 with 114 hits in, and Winter Soldier is already only on like what, 5% now. So each of our hits deal some crazy damage considering she's only rank 3 and she has class disadvantage. So 124 hit fight for a rank 3, that's quite a crazy damage output. But let's just check her out in kind of like a regular quest fight. So since she's rank 3, I think Act 5.4 is kind of suitable testing ground for her, and so that is where we're gonna spend majority of the rest of the video. So first we're going up against this yellow jacket. We have just went invisible, and now we basically just want to lay in on him, get some vulnerabilities on him, and then just keep smacking away at him to see how quickly he goes down. So as we can see here, we have 8 vulnerabilities, 30 hits in the fight. We shoot off our level 2, and that does already some decent damage. So we're gonna finish off the fight here in second, and then we're gonna compare her damage output to a few other champions. So here we await next hit, one more hit, and he goes down, and that took us 41 hits. So 41 hits to take down 20k opponent. It's not bad at all. Now let's see how Red Hulk performs in the same conditions. So here we go in with our Red Hulk. Once again, we do not have any class advantage or disadvantage. Red Hulk is kind of a similar champion in terms that he wants to ramp up his heat charges, which are not too easy to do. We just need to throw our level 1s a couple of times. And then let's see how many hits does this fight take for our Red Hulk. Also, it's worth mentioning that the synergies that I was using for most part really don't do too much for Invisible Woman. The main bit that I wanted to use was Nick Fury with Gold Pool just to get rid of that bleed debuff, because while she's bleeding, we cannot have our invisibility unpaused. It's not too big of a downside if you're not using those synergies. She will still heal off suicides and she still runs them great. It's just she's going to be a bit slower startup champion. So here Red Hulk finishes off the fight in 45 hits. So her basically damage output is comparable to a Red Hulk in a typical questing fight, which, if you ask me, is not too bad. So next footage is going to be sped up times 1.5, just because we're going to be doing entire questing path of Vitality in 5.4, just to kind of showcase how she plays. Now, point to mention here is, for most part, I forgot to activate her pre-fight ability, which you typically want to do. Basically, you just hit harder with your pre-fight ability, so her damage output in this video could be even improved. But yeah, there is another great thing, what I want to talk about in Invisible Woman. So as we're going to see in this video, my invisibility is going to get switched off multiple times, and that will affect my damage output, which is not awesome. However, the thing that is awesome is that basically whenever opponent gets to switch off your invisibility, you have made a mistake or you dealt with a special attack that you can't fully evade. However, you took no block damage just because you were phasing through all of that. And if we pay attention in this fight, even though we're running suicides, even though we're parrying or blocking somewhere along the way, even though we're shooting specials and hitting recoil, our health always remains at the top. So we're pretty much not losing any health whatsoever. And that is the key aspect of why I think Invisible Woman is actually great. She heals off well from suicides, and with her, typically, when you make a mistake or when you would take damage, because of her invisibility, you're allowed to do that. Your only penalty is going to be losing your basically damage output for a while, which you can recover from. However, for most part, you're never going to get punished with an Invisible Woman because she is invisible. And as soon as I kind of realized that, and as soon as I started playing more relaxed with her, realized that it doesn't really matter if my invisibility gets switched off, because I can turn it back up later. Okay, the fight isn't gonna go as quickly. However, she's extremely great sustainable questing champion just because she heals off suicides. Her power, her force field does absorb a lot of damage, including suicide damage, including recoil damage. And second bit is, she's extremely safe character to play, and that goes really well with kind of her aggressive playstyle. Because with her, obviously, in order to remain invisible, you do want to rely on your intercepts. But because of her invisibility, you will always win those intercepts. Even the times when you would mess up, even the times when an opponent would strike you, he's just gonna phase through you. You're gonna still be able to land your intercept, and you can carry on as if nothing ever happened, with the only downside being losing some of your damage output. So, overall, I actually kind of enjoyed making this video. I did absolutely enjoy playing her just because she lets me be aggressive. I do like to kind of backdraft intercept a lot. And with all that, I think she is much better than people have been giving her credit for so far. Is she a game-changing champion? No. But is she really kind of sustainable, fun champion to play? Yes. Like, if I would have to compare her to like new release champions, I would probably rate her a bit over Ronin or somewhere thereabouts. She's not gonna be a god tier that does everything for you. She might have her uses in Alliance War defense, but she definitely does have a lot of use for you while you're questing, and if you're running suicides, especially then, she turns into healing machine. I do think that the character could have turned a lot more powerful, once again, if they budged the numbers a bit, if they made the vulnerabilities more effective, if they made the force field cover more ground, kind of cover more health. But as is, I still sort of like her. Is she a champion that I would recommend everybody go nuts on featured Cavalier crystals and grind insane scores for? Probably not, no. She's not a Void, she's not Quake, she's not Ghost. But she is definitely one of the kind of like more decent middle of the pack champions that you can play extremely aggressive. You can have loads of kind of like fun time with, just because you feel that you're playing really well, you're playing really aggressive, you're intercepting constantly, you don't get punished for it, which is always fun to get away with a mistake. And overall her damage output still is not bad. Keep in mind, in this video from here, I pretty much all the time forget to activate her pre-fight ability, so she could be hitting even harder. And she's absolutely mincing through this path in Act 5. Also, that is, yeah, a rank 3 champion that pretty much never dips below 90% of the health. And it's just a very kind of easy way to play her. Like, people said, if you're not gonna be an intercept god, you can't use her well or something like that. No, I think she's quite the opposite. She is a champion that's extremely forgiving to intercept mistakes, and if anything, you should use her to learn how to play intercept. And yeah, because with the rest of the champions, when you intercept, you're gonna get immediately smacked in the face in case you fail. With her, you're just gonna lose some damage output, but you're still gonna land that hit on the intercept, and you're still gonna technically win, even though if it's gonna be like technically by cheating kind of. So yeah, I do recommend taking your Invisible Woman out from a pack if you have one. Just put her in a questing team, take her in like rank appropriate quests, and do try her out. Especially if you're trying to get better at intercepting, because her playstyle pretty much demands you to intercept, and it also protects you from your mistakes. So I think overall, the more you play her, the better you can potentially get at intercepting and playing without opponent touching you. When it comes to rest of the stuff and rest of her abilities, I'm sure you guys are capable of reading them out and kind of looking them up. But as I said, for most part, the rest of her abilities doesn't really matter. The main thing is how her invisibility works. The fact that you do not want to block, parry, or basically let opponent phase through you, and just have at them, intercept as much as possible, knowing you're going to be safe while doing so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also know that you're going to recover all your suicide damage. Now for kind of like my final thoughts about the character. I do think that Kabam kind of butchered her numbers. I do think that she could have been one of the greater champions that come out recently if Kabam gave her a bit more slack on like the vulnerability count and force field damage that it can absorb. Now, as is, I think she's still extremely solid champion. You should not feel kind of like bad when you pull her. She's definitely fun to play. She probably will have relatively good role in Alliance War defense. She will be able to do a lot of stuff for you questing, but is she champion you should go mad for? Grinding on Cavalier crystals or anything else? Not really, no. She's a nice to have champion that can give you some fun. But yeah, I think that's gonna be about it for today's video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.